Imagine this. You get sick the morning of a wedding. Another DJ steps in. They have the same top downloads, the same wedding staples, the same clean transitions. The dance floor still fills, the timeline still runs, and no one can tell the difference. This is not an attack. This is a question. If you were replaced this weekend, would anyone notice your absence? Welcome to the DJ's Guru Hangout. The mission here is simple: to help you become a better performer and a more informed event professional. I spent my career working as a DJ and as the owner of a DJ equipment store, and I'm here to share what that experience has taught me. Please do me a favor and subscribe or follow to stay connected. Now let's get into it. How you doing, everybody? Welcome down to episode 40 of the DJ's Guru Hangout. We're really happy to have you down here. And yeah, today we're talking about developing your own sound, becoming unique, and not necessarily falling into the trap of just playing the bangers. So we're going to go over several things today. But I think by the end of this episode, we're going to challenge you to really look at what you're doing, why you're doing it, and think about, if I were to continue to do it this way, could I easily be replaced? Because I think in 2026, the music and everything else really needs to have that in mind. And you got to make sure that you're not replaceable. So let's talk about what our episode objective is today. We're going to discuss three things. We're going to discuss, number one, why generic music selection creates vulnerability. Number two, how intentional music curation affects your authority. And how, number three, a practical guided framework for developing your own sound. So we're going to dive right into it, and we're going to go into segment number one. And I'll talk to you a little bit about maybe how I started. And when I started, it was with vinyl. It was with records. I learned on turntables, and the entire music curation process involved getting into the car, driving down to the record store, and then basically grabbing a bunch of records within the genres and the types of songs that you were looking to play, putting them into a little crate, and then listening to them. Records were expensive. You couldn't buy everything. So you really had to listen to these records. You had to really understand them even a little bit before you got a chance to play them for other people, because you had to decide, is this going to work for me? Is this going to fit into the sound that I've been trying to develop? And am I going to play it? Because between $7 and $20 per record back then, you certainly could not buy everything, and you had to really make choices. So it was one of those things where you studied, you really learned, and listening before you purchased them kind of gave you a good idea of the songs before you even got them home to play. And that was always my thing and the way that I developed music. And by learning it that way, it's kind of helped me, I think, curate and apply that in the new modern world. So as vinyl forced discipline back when I started, I'll talk to you a little bit about what the modern contrast of that is. Today, we have unlimited downloads. You know, I'm part of a Zip DJ, and for X amount of dollars per month, I get basically unlimited downloads, and I could go on there and take whatever I want. If I don't want to listen to everything and just take everything, I can do it. You have pools, you have record charts, you have edits. There's streaming, obviously. The access to music, that barrier is now gone. Everyone has everything now. And it seems like people download first and then listen later, maybe never. So you have a hard drive filled with songs that you don't even really know. And to me, that is a recipe for playing sets that are easily duplicated. Because what's going to happen is you're going to tend to play what works, what you see working, what you hear working at other events, what you hear other DJs talking about, different things like that. So that is the contrast between when I started and kind of what it is today. And I've tried to kind of hedge something right in the middle where I like to have access to songs and I don't have to drive down to the record store, even though I still love to do that. But I still understand that I need to know my music really well. I need to know where the tension points are, where there are buildups, how long the intro is, where, if I'm going to do a quick transition, where that's going to be, and maybe how I do that transition. And it's not as easy nowadays when you have 10,000 tracks and you're downloading 30, 40 songs at a time. So let's flip this into, I know a lot of people out there are wedding DJs. Many of you are also club DJs or bedroom DJs or whatever it is, but many people out there are wedding DJs. So let's give you the wedding DJ dilemma, right? Because sure, I can say it's easy to curate tracks and play your own sound. And all right, well, I'm getting handed a playlist, right? So you're given a playlist, you're handed a must play list, right? But just because they're handing you a list of songs doesn't mean you have to play it in that order. It should not remove your voice. And I think that's something that I want to impose on everyone today is understand what your voice is. Your voice as a DJ is the order that you're playing songs in, the programming, right? The pacing, how fast and how long you're playing songs for, the timing of drops and where you're actually placing them. And then the restraint between moments. When I say it that way, we all know right now there's 5 songs that we can play and we know we're going to get a reaction. We know that when we drop that song, people are going to put their hands up. They're going to know the lyrics. They're going to sing along. And we're going to get 4 to 5 minutes of party time, and knowing that it's working. But you don't want to throw those out there too fast. You want to really be intentional about when you use them and understand the need by following the energy of the room, of the dance floor. So the big thing really to understand is that you want to be unique. You want to be able to curate your own music, develop your own sound, and have a DJ voice that becomes your own and becomes part of your brand. If you're just playing off a playlist and you're not really being intentional about it, it's very easy to automate what you're doing. It's very easy to replicate what you're doing. And at that point, you become replaceable. So in this world today where everyone is kind of looking the same in a lot of ways with their setups and with the types of equipment that they're using, and everyone has access nowadays pretty much to the same amount of tracks, from a client standpoint, they are overwhelmed with similar choices. And there's something called the paradox of choice. And there's 2 ways to look at the paradox of choice. In this context, there's been behavioral research that shows when consumers face many similar options, right? A bunch of DJs saying the same thing, looking the same way, playing the same music, they're going to default to either the most recognizable or the most differentiated. So either it's going to be the company that everyone's recommending and they're well-known in the area, or they have someone who's well-known and they're just going to go with that particular company because they've heard of it before, or they're going to look at something that kind of stands out, whether that be a look or an intentional vibe with your music. So this is a spot where you have a real opportunity to stand out. And it's hard to do that in a flyer or something like that. But we'll get to this more in one of the next segments. But the more intentional you are about curating your music and playing music a certain way, developing your own sound, the guests the clients will start to notice that. The music heads, the people that understand the difference between a DJ and a really good DJ, they will let the bride and groom or people at the event know. They will start to push your name out there. And it's just one of those things where by not just being fine, right? Playing what you know is going to work and really trying to be unique and doing things a certain way, that always rises to the top and people notice. Doesn't happen immediately, but eventually you'll start to notice by doing it this way, you'll start to get referrals in a way that you might not have before. So that's the paradox of choice. And just wanted to share that with you. But segment one is just really a matter of understanding kind of the way that this all started as being a DJ and curating music to the modern choices that we have today and that contrast, and understanding why being unique kind of gives you a leg up. So we'll move into segment number two here, and I'm going to give you a step-by-step framework to try to bring this into your DJ sets, into your workflow. I'm going to challenge you to try to do things a little bit differently, and hopefully this helps you. It's always worked for me, I'll tell you that much. So here's the framework. Number one, run the replacement test. If you were replaced this weekend, would clients notice? If your answer to that question is no, then this is something you should really be considering and listening to in a way that hopefully can make that answer yes moving forward. Because if you could be replaced and someone else can just jump in and kind of play your tracks the same way, what are you really bringing to the table, and why are you going to be able to charge more or get more events or be referred more, all those types of things. Number two, separate function from voice, even with a playlist. So again, we spoke about what voice is. Your voice as a DJ is the way that you mix. It's the way that you transition from a slower song into a dance set. It's the way that you maybe do a quick mix from one particular song to the next where it really just falls right into place. If you are someone who plays a lot of acapellas and maybe you are using stems right now and developing a workflow of certain beats and certain vocals, I mean, these are all part of your voice, not just playing things the way that you would hear it on the radio, doing it in a way that is different, not the way you heard it on an edit, your way of doing it, the way that you hear it in your head. So run the replacement test, number one. Number two, separate function from voice, even with a playlist. Just because they're handing you a playlist does not mean you have to run it in that order. It does not mean you have to do it any particular way. You still can control the experience of how that playlist is played out. All right. So number three, we're going to reintroduce scarcity intentionally. And I spoke a little bit about scarcity earlier when I discussed my trips to the record store, because I couldn't buy everything. I had less music to play. And since I'm not obviously using vinyl as my main format of audio anymore, now you have to really impose it manually. So here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. We all have songs that we play out of repetition, out of habit, because they work, because someone always gives you a wave, or, oh, I love this song. And I understand that completely, right? But if you've been doing that over and over and over for years and years and decades, maybe at this point, I'm going to challenge you to remove, let's say, 10 tracks once a month. Remove 10 tracks that you're playing regularly. And I'm not saying never play them again, just put them on the side. And I would like you to take 5 new tracks, maybe ones that are not as popular, maybe ones that you haven't had as much success with yet, but you know them really well. You have passion for those songs and you feel like they could work. You just never had any luck, or maybe you just never really tried that hard to do it. So I would ask you now to take those 5 tracks and bring them into your regular world, trying to work them in. And I feel like when you start to do that, it starts to open up ideas for other things. It starts to show you that you don't always have to play the same 10 songs. If you're doing a 50 set, it doesn't always have to be Run Around Sue, into Rockin' Robin, into, I Saw Her Standing There, which isn't even from the 50s. But the point is, there's so many songs out there. Try something different. See what works. See what happens. As long as you're not going against the playlist and getting yourself in trouble with the client, do it. Try it. And I promise you, a lot of these things will really surprise you. All right. So that's number 3. And number 4, depth over volume. So as we discussed earlier, then was fewer records, but you had deeper knowledge of them. Now we have massive libraries, but shallow familiarity. So that means we have all these songs. We don't necessarily know the songs that well. If we had to play one right now, we might not know when to start it, when the next song was coming to an end, because we're not sure of how long that intro is. We're not sure how long the buildup is. We're not sure of the way that it fits best in a set. So depth means knowing your entry points. It means understanding where the tension buildups are, your phrasing, your keys, keeping all of that consistent, and understand that knowing your music really well, knowing where the right cue points are, all of that type of stuff is really going to be more beneficial for you than just having every track that there is and being able to play every request that there is. Because at that point, you're really more reacting. You're not necessarily being proactive and building a set. So that's segment 2 in most of the nutshell. But I think I want to bring in one other part to this, and it's the AI factor. It's also other DJs too, right? And we talked about being replaceable. So AI can optimize popular tracks. If you give it crowd data, it can analyze that. It can map predictable energy arcs if you throw a bunch of songs in and tell it to start to do that. What it can't do, though, is replicate lived taste and intentional restraint. So what does that mean? It basically means that it's not going to be able to program and curate the way that a human can. We understand a song is a good song for whatever reason that it is. There are certain songs that are just undeniable. They have a great beat. They have a fantastic hook. They've got great harmonies. AI can't understand that. AI can just kind of see patterns, right? And it can read the top 100 list, and it can know, based on that information, this might work. This should work. Odds are this will work. But we don't know for sure, right? A human, of course, is going to be able to understand that. Well, I use this example. Stranger Things, when that first hit season 1, all of a sudden, Running Up the Hill came back. It became a popular song again after from the 80s. It came back, almost 30 years later. AI probably wouldn't have known that, and it wouldn't have understood to drop that at the right point would really get a reaction from the crowd. These are the types of things that really make a difference, because when you're a DJ, you're not just playing music. You really are a culture. You're supposed to be on top of culture and understanding what's happening in the popular world, so that way you can bring in certain things. certain sound bites, certain songs that are now popular, maybe for a certain period of time. But these are the things AI can't do. These are the things that many DJs can't do. If you can do these types of things, it's going to separate you. It's going to make you more memorable. By being memorable in this business, you're going to succeed. So AI, it's coming for us all, especially in this business. And especially if you're just playing playlists. If you're just going to be a playlist DJ, AI is going to replace you at some point. It just simply will. And I hope I'm not offending anyone there. I know it's uncomfortable to hear this, but I think it's important to share, and I think it's important for everyone to consider and think about as we get more and more into this AI world. All right, everyone, we've reached segment number 3, and I hope everyone's doing well out there. Here in New York, where I am, we had a major blizzard. Some parts of my area here on Long Island had 28 inches of snow. And if you're watching me from somewhere where that's normal, I'm sure you're not thinking it's a big deal. We get a lot of snow here in New York, but not typically 28 inches at one time. So it's been a little crazy here. If you're in the Northeast, or really from what I'm seeing, it's snowing in a lot of places right now. Hope everyone's staying safe and lift with your leg. That's what I did when I was shoveling yesterday. Lift with those legs. All right. So segment number 3, the long game perspective. So let's kind of bring this to speed and zoom out a bit. As we've been going with the micro, let's look a little bit at the macro now. So if you're going to go out there and you're going to play the bangers and you're going to play the top 100 playlists, they can succeed, and you can get away with that for quite a while. I mean, you might be able to do parties like that your whole career. You might be able to do events like that your whole career. But in my opinion, they flatten your brand, because anyone who understands the way to really curate music and to build sets, and what separates and makes a really good DJ versus someone who's just pretty good, they will notice that type of stuff. And that's where you get videos taken of you that wind up on social media. That's where everyone tells their friends, you have to have this person be your DJ. You don't even know what they did. I asked them to play an 80s set, and the next thing you know, they put these songs together in a way I'd never heard before. You have to have this person. It's really, this is what happens when you start to be unique and you start to be able to play music in that way. All right. Reputation compounds around identity and uniqueness. So once again, short-term gain on playing generic sets is, all right, we played Peppers and it got everyone out of their seat and they all knew the words. Well, shocker. That's going to happen no matter where you are and no matter when it is. It's still happening. And it happened for 5 years when that song came out. But if you do that and you somehow are able to work something else into that track and make it different, make it unique, make it yours, that again will be memorable, where people walking out of a room hearing Peppers for the millionth time are not going to remember anything, but they will remember it if you do it a certain way that makes it unique. So, and that will compound over time. The more and more you get good feedback like that from people that have seen you play, the better it is going to be for you and your business. And lastly, when it comes to this, and I said this earlier, I understand many of you are working with a playlist and you have some restraints. You can't just play whatever you want, right? Of course not. And the truth is, as a DJ, if you're just going to go in and play whatever you want, I mean, you better be at a level where, your Carl Cox or your Tiesto or someone out there that's producing and making their own tracks and really has developed themselves as an artist. And even those people, I'm sure if you go to these festivals or these events that they're working, I'm sure not everyone's happy and they all have an opinion or something to say, right? But that being said, once they hand you that list, it's your job to take that list and make it your own. And that's always what I loved to do. I loved getting a playlist and seeing certain tracks that I could build around. Because for me, and I think for every DJ that's doing it the right way, it's all about building sets. It's about building tension. It's about creating moments, right? You can't just, and I understand open format, and I'm down with that. But at a wedding, at a private event, even a club, people kind of get into certain genres at a certain point. So if they hear a Latin track, for instance, it's likely you should probably play 3 or 4 more Latin tracks after that first one, because now you kind of got that vibe going, right? But if you're going to jump from a Latin track to a 50s song, people are going to be very confused, right? It's also about building up your BPM level too. So understand where you're starting from and where you want to end. And if, so you don't want to start off at 160 BPM, right? You want to start off a little bit lower. I was a big, when I was club DJing, I opened for a lot of big names, and I started becoming requested by these big names because they really appreciated the way I opened a room. I understood that I wasn't the headliner. I understood that my job was to get people kind of ready for the headliner and keep them at the bar, drinking, making the bar money, playing a few tracks that got people moving and dancing. And eventually, probably half an hour before the headliner would come on, we'd have the dance floor packed. But you wouldn't start there. You would start much slower. You would start with music that they probably wouldn't want to dance to right away. And that was by design. It was more because that's the way you should open a room. And it's giving respect to the person coming on after you, but it's also understanding the science behind a party and how it can't just constantly be all energy. It has to be built up, and there has to be a little bit, some peaks and valleys. You have to give people time to sometimes go use the bathroom, grab a drink, and you'll see if you're doing it the right way. You lose a couple of people off the dance floor, you're going to get a couple more people back, and you'll keep it filled. And that's, I know, a goal for so many people out there. And that's always, going to be the goal, of course. All right, I'm going to share one more personal story with you about why music curation is so important and why you have to sometimes have some confidence and take a chance with records. So there was a song called Trippin' by Andrea Brown was the lyricist. For the life of me right now, I can't remember who the producer was. If you remember, please tell me in the comments. But this song came out, I want to say it was a white label. It came out in like 99, 2000. And at the time, I was doing a lot of nightclubs on Long Island. My name was starting to get known a little bit in the area, but I was still a big city guy. I was still going to see a lot of other bigger DJs in the area. And I happened to have one night where some of these bigger DJs came to one of my parties, and I played the Andrea Brown track. And I will never forget, they all ran over to me and they all said, what is this? Now, I had the fortunate ability at the time, I worked at a record store. So when things came in, sometimes the white labels, there'd only be a few of them. I would grab that really quick. I said, I don't know what that is, but that's really good. And I want to add that to my arsenal. Now, let me tell you something. There was plenty of people there at the event that did not know what this song was. They never heard of it before. But like I said earlier, some tracks are just undeniable. Some vocals are just really good, even the first time you hear it. And I knew that. I felt confident in this track. And I just kept playing and I kept playing it. And it would get reaction after reaction every time I played it. And as I said earlier, I was going out to a lot of nightclubs at the time. This is when I was a lot younger. I was watching some of the more popular DJs in my area. And then all of a sudden, what song did I start here getting played was the Andrea Brown Trippin' song. So somewhere along the line, I'm not saying that I was the direct cause of this, I don't think I broke the record per se, but I know a lot of people who were known heard me play it, asked me about it, and people talk, right? So next thing you know, a month later, I'm hearing these songs in the big city clubs. I'm hearing this song in the big city clubs, and it was a good feeling because I felt somewhat like I had something to do with this track actually becoming more popular. And that's the way it used to happen. It really did. So don't be afraid if you hear a song and no one's playing it and you think it's good. Take that chance. Start to try to work it in, and you can do that in a lot of different ways. All right, so hope everyone's doing really well out there. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, watching here on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. We're going to be on Spotify, Apple Music very soon. I'm working to get that all set up. So this will be a live stream podcast, you name it. But now I want you to take some action because I always want to leave with giving you something that's actionable and that will hopefully help you moving forward for your event. So this week, I want to challenge you to create one crate labeled signature. I want you to fill it with 20 to 30 tracks you know deeply, or maybe you don't know them deeply yet, but you like them a lot and you feel like they could work, but you really haven't played them off and you haven't worked them into your sets, the set that works. And I want you to set that crate up. I want you to start to really study those songs. I want you to learn them, know where the tension points are, understand the intros, where they're best to be transitioned from, and start to use them. Start to bring them into your next, let's say, 3 events. Your next 3 events, I want you to start to try to bring these into your sets, differentiate a little bit what you're doing, and see how it works. You might be surprised. I think you very well will be surprised that people will really gravitate towards hearing 5 or 6 songs that they know well, and then maybe one song after that they're not sure of, but it fits and it's a good song. What was that song? That's the thing that you would really strive. That's something I always strove for as a DJ was I want people to come up to me and be like, what is that track? Where did you get that? That was always something that made me feel really good, was that I knew I wasn't playing all the same music as everybody else. And, again, I worked at a record store for a while there, so I had an unfair advantage, but hey, use what you've got, right? All right. So yes, build that crate. I want you to build that signature crate, fill it with 20 to 30 tracks, deeply, and see what happens, man. Try it out. If you have confidence in that track, I bet you it's going to work. That's going to be my thought. And I'd love to hear back in the comments. If you do this, if you try it out, let me know how it turns out for you. All right, everyone. So I really hope everyone has an opportunity to consider what I'm saying here. I know this can be an uncomfortable conversation for certain people to change what they're doing, to look at it and say, you know what, I really have been playing the same tracks for a long time now, myself included. I talked about that 50 set before. That was one of my 50 sets. And yeah, there's so many good 50 songs that go together. When I get a chance to do my 50 sets now, I always try to really differentiate from Runaround Sue to Rockin' Robin to Saw Her Standing There, which isn't even a 50 song. But again, that's where I'm at. So here are my final thoughts. If you remember one thing from today, I want you to remember this. Access is no longer your advantage. Everyone has access to everything. A lot of people now are streaming it. So they're not even going out and buying tracks or, entering these record pools or things like that. They're streaming it. Tidal, I think, is $15 a month. So the cost of entry on music now is super low. And everyone's playing and has access to the same stuff. So once again, taste is your advantage. Anyone can play what works. Pros decide how it's experienced. So curate deliberately, my friends. Curate deliberately. We've got a few comments. So before we sign off here, I think we'll go down to the comments. What's up, Dennis? Thanks for stopping by. What's up, Matt? How are you, my friend? Thank you for stopping by, as always. What's up, Angel? Love you, man. Love you. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate everybody. And DJs should dig for new music or create new remixes. Absolutely 1,000,000%. Oh, one other thing I wanted to share. I should have brought this video here, but I didn't. I bought my daughter her first record player. Very excited. I allowed her to come to me. I didn't want to push it on her, but she's been really into music. And I decided to buy her a record player. And then this weekend we went to the record store and we just had so much fun. It was really, really interesting to watch her go through these different records, and she didn't know a lot of them. She's 9, so she's looking for Taylor Swift and Olivia Rodrigo and different artists like that. But we did find her some stuff, which was pretty great. And just the experience of watching her touch the vinyl and read the lyrics inside the sleeve, and man, tangible music was awesome. And I'm just glad to see it coming back. And that's just something I wanted to share with you guys and girls out there. But listen, develop your own sound. It can't hurt you. I can promise you that. You can always still play the bangers. You can always still play what works. But by being unique, by being someone that can't be automated, it's really going to help you out for your long-term success. So I want to say thank you for everyone for watching today. We really appreciate you coming on down, and we're going to see you guys and girls next week, Tuesday at 1:00. Look forward to it, and we'll see you on the next one, everyone. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.